Hey, what is up, guys? Takes Zelfie here, and today I wanted to do a little, sort of farewell retrospective for sets 1 through 4, since they will be leaving the format actually starting today, which is May 1st. This is the first day that rotation officially kicks in. I know on Cipher we have a major coming up right now that will still have, the normal 16 set rule set, but from now on, a lot of tournaments are going to be standard, especially if you're playing in JP. And so, I thought I'd go over a lot of the prominent cards from those previous sets that deserve a little bit of a mention. So I've just compiled a bunch of cards here. I'm kind of gonna go buy them one by one. I've tried ordering them into packages as well, so the cards that I'm talking about share similarities in the types of things that I'll be discussing. And without further ado, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. So the first card I want to talk about is Marth. Marth was the most no, I wouldn't say consistent, but he's one of the if you think of a mid-range MC, he's probably what you're thinking of. He's good, he has draw power, he's very consistent, he has a good matchup against dragons, thanks to Falchion, and he's just super solid in general. And not to mention, he's been a fan favorite, or at least a popular deck for a while. And even though this version of Marth has fallen out of favor in favor of the Victory Road Marth, it was always used as the backup promotion. Now that this backup promotion is gone, they'll probably have to switch off to a different variant of Marth, but still a bit sad to see this one leaving. And if you're already purple or anything, this card would still combo with it. So it wasn't a bad card necessarily. It just got a little bit outdone. And this card was still getting certain matchups as well when you couldn't maintain a board against the enemy. It's a bit of a sad loss, but not one that was too striking to Marth. One card that is a bit striking to Marth though is Elise. Now, Elise's secondary skill, or no, it's the first one, which is tap, flip 1, summon a 2-cost dread from your retreat. You can only use this once per game. It wasn't that good, right? Because you could only use it once per game, which means it wasn't making an automatic tempo swing or whatever. You get a Bowie or a Bellow out. But the secondary skill gives Marth and Merrick plus 10, and that kind of sucks for Marth because being a base 80 allowed it to go above that base 70 threshold that a lot of units are trying to hit right now, or just in general. And having Elise on board meant that they had to target it, and if they didn't have backline, well, they were just kind of screwed. Elise was just a really good card because you had to get it down, or else you'd have a harder time hitting Marth. And it's fairly easy to bring back, especially with this version of Marth that could actually draw it when this was from a support. It's a bit of a loss. I think that having Elise on board nowadays is pretty hard, so she is a less important card to a deck. But she was still pretty good when, she was there. And you always appreciate having her around. And the final card I want to talk about is Ubella. Now this applies to a couple of other MCs on our list, but I'm just going to bring him up here as he's the prime one drop for Marth. This Ubello gains plus 21 support by mage. So basically when you have a tome support, you are 70, and if your opponent self-supports on the MC or whatever, this would hit. Or you can May buff this, and it would hit base 60 mages as well. So Ubello hit some pretty good thresholds for being fairly cheap, and that's what made him so good. And he was just super consistent in these mage-reliant decks. And he was definitely a key cornerstone for some of those decks, like Sword, for example. And it's gonna be gone. It's gonna be gone without him. Thank God without him. What am I saying? It's gonna be kind of sad that he's gone now. But we do have a new Ubello, which is also pretty good. It doesn't have offensive power, but it has draw power. So, maybe Ubello leaving the format will give a chance for another one-drop or that new Ubello to take its place and, maybe refresh some of the decks a little bit. At least until that one-drop becomes so popular that it basically becomes Ubello 2.0. Yeah. So those are the cards I want to talk about for Marth. Yeah. So now we are gonna move on to all the control stuff. Now control has taken a huge hit from its standard package. Most importantly, it's losing Tiki 5, which was a really solid card. It's a base 90 dragon, and base 90 is really hard to hit if you're not Marth, because, you know, the threshold for hitting most MCs is base 70. Cool. Some MCs may go to base 80, and you should be prepared to hit that. That's fine. But once you start getting to base 90, that's when trouble starts to hit, because then it becomes extremely hard for you to hit Tiki. And, you know, when you're playing this base 90 MC, who also accelerate spawns for you, keep in mind, you're gonna be in danger since they have a lot of powerful plays that they can use against you. And she's just, you know, she's just super solid MC. She has good results. She's always been good. Yeah. And there's a couple other cards we would talk about here first. Which ones do I want to talk about next? Let's talk about the other cards that help Tiki out, that made her, like, the way she is. There's, well, not just Tiki, but these are also other ramped cards that were pretty good. So, you know, you have your, you have these ramp cards right here that could help Tiki in the early game, or other control decks. So, you have Hisame and Gregor, which are just, they're a bit weaker than normal 2-drops, being a base 40. And they're also 10 supports, but when they die, they actually get sent to the bond area instead of the retreat, which made them very useful in the early game, as they can not only soak up a hit, but accelerate your bonds. And, you know, if you didn't attack Hisame, then Tiki's just saying the backline, not really, you know, being scared or anything. And, yeah, these cards really helped out control decks in the early game. Now, you also have this Tiki 2. Obviously, this Tiki 2 wasn't running control, but she's just an alternate option for ramping when you weren't running like Hisame, because that would require running white. She's just like a flip 2 add a bond to your, add a bond. Hey, is it from your deck or from your hand? From your hand, face down, you know, like 2 bonds for, well, on turn 2, losing all your bonds to get a face down bond. That's not really the best play, but it really helped out since control really needed that ramp in the early game to get to the part of the game where they can just out-resource you. And so those were some important cards in the early game. You also have Maria. Maria is like a super good backup healer for when you don't want to commit the Jenny. She can just flip through bonds and grab 2 cards. And she can grab you your main promotion if you missed it. She can grab you like a Gregor or a Jenny, or, you know, just literally any card from your retreat. And she's just like, she's a solid alternate option when you don't want to deploy Jenny. Because sometimes you just want to save like a Jenny 1 in your hand, or Jenny 4 or 5, so you can get that overclass value when you need it. And Marie was just that good secondary option that you put into your deck to make sure that you could, you know, get through that mid-game. She was also solid in a couple other decks, such as Femui. When Femui ramped a lot, and, you know, she could just grab a bunch of cards. Marie's pretty solid. It's kind of sad that she's leaving. I don't think there's another card that replaces her at the moment directly, besides, like, Ellen, but Ellen is in purple, so, yeah. We also have Naui 3. Naui 3 is probably the most important card leaving, because Tiki at least has her Warriors version, the 5/4 ramp card as well, that really helped Tiki out and is probably the better Tiki MC. But now he's a huge loss. She was just this auto resource maker. She also was a base 81 to 2 range, which pretty much hit anything that you'd want to keep in the backline, plus the MC if it was trying to run away. And she's also just a super sturdy body that is hard to get past. Like I said, threshold for hitting cards is base 70. So if you're base 80 and you're just and you're both tying in the support value, then, you know, Tiki, now he's not getting hit. And she's also really good for cycling bonds, so she can grab flip bonds and add them back to your hand for literally no cost at all. The only cost of her being on board and sacrificing bondage, I guess. But, you know, it sucks that she's leaving. She's such a crucial card to his decks. But, like I said, purple does also have a card that does that, and it's called Mirror. She does a similar thing without sacrificing tempo and without 1-2 range. So, maybe with Ellen and Merv, we'll see purple rise up in the control meta. We'll have to see where that experimentation goes. We also have Robin. Robin was another, like, sort of anti-aggro, more like stabilization card. He's sort of like this panic card that you can deploy. He's just, you deploy him, you get to flip 2 bonds, and you get to add a orb to your, you get to add an orb from the top of your deck if you're lower on orbs than your opponent. Which, if you were playing control and you were in the early game, you probably were. So this card would just help you restabilize. Maybe you can even get, like, a dodge in your orbs, and that's, like, 2+ turns of living. Or, it's just an extra orb, and, you're happy with just that extra turn of living. And finally, there's Henry. He's also, like, his own MC plus his own card. He was running Cheeky. He's also running a couple other things as well. He's just this, he's pretty cheap discard, being fairly low priced and very low bond cost. You just have to get Henry 1 up field, promote it, and then you can use his skill. And then his skill only costs 1 bond, so, it's really, really cheap. And it's effective immediately. I believe your opponent gets to discard 2 cards, which is like a downside to, compared to Leo and Delthea. But it's still really, really good. Because if you get enough of these Henrys out, then, it's just like, they don't have any hand at some point. And yeah, that's most of the control cards I want to go over. There'll be a couple more I'll talk about later, but these are like the main packages, I suppose. Let's just move all these out of the way. Now, the next set of cards I wanted to talk about were white. And white got hit decently hard. It still has a Boro, and a Boro is just so much value. That's hard to pass up, and, in any meta where that card would be bad. But there's going to be a couple of key cards that are leaving. The first one are the base 40 Archer Emblem supports. Now, these cards are just super good because you could buy them with, like, Kuragi, and then they'd all hit, like, base 40, and then you get Archer Emblem, you hit base 80, whatever. They were just allowing lower cost cards to hit fairly high statted foes, and that was one of the most dangerous parts, is that you really couldn't leave a 1 cost on the board, or else it might actually do something against you. And, even if you weren't hitting MC, you were probably hitting, like, base 60 mages in the backline, as you were, like, 40 plus 40 against 60 plus 20. So, you tie against them. A couple other cards leaving that are kind of important, but not as important, is Setsuna 3-2. The reason that this card sucks at sleeving is because the other Setsuna 3-2, well, it's, relative in power level. You have to class change it in order to become a base 60. Well, this one is just a base 60 off the bat. So that's kind of fortunate. It's whatever, but, you just have to adapt. The other one is the 30 support too, which isn't bad as well. I might as well bring that up. But you won't. The other one also has a draw skill for 1 at a top, so you're never going to be drawing with that. Well, you're rarely ever going to be drawing with that skill, since Boro is a draw engine in of herself. So, yeah. And you're also missing Kata 1, which was the only ramp card that you had available to you. Now, if you want to ramp, you'll have to use, like, Dragon Blood emblems from other colors. You don't want to be burning other colors into a Boro when you need all those white bonds to flip in order to gain value from it. Of course, a Boro MC is still in the format, and she is still going to be quite powerful, as you still have all the main powerhouse cards in the deck, such as Dragon Blood Takumi, Dragon Blood Kuragi, or not Dragon Blood, Dragon Vein, sorry. And you also have, there's one more I'm missing. Oh yeah, and Hinoka. So you still have all the super powerful archers, you're just missing some of the lower cost cards that can make the deck super aggressive. What sucks? Alright, so we got some TMS cards here. Now, well, the quote-unquote good TMS cards are still in the format, or the MCs I should say are still in the format. You're losing the important cards, I should say. So for Tsuki, you're losing the bridge, and the bridge was so fantastic. It could just clear whatever 2/1 drop card that your opponent wanted to play. and it was just allowed you to, gain some of that little early tempo lead while developing your board at the same time with Crom. It was just super, super aggressive. It was a super nice play. This MC was just like, this bridge made the MC really, really good, I should say. Because it allowed you to at least have some of that early game board pressure while still, maintaining tempo and developing a board. On top of that, you're also losing Crom 1. And there's still Mirage Crom and Mirage Sheeta in the format, but they don't have Mirage Emblem, which means they can't deploy themselves, which means it's also a bit more difficult to set up for like the Crom promotion or this Kata promotion on whatever turn you want to get them, right? And that's a bit unfortunate. You also can't deploy them early on and get them like sort of out of the way. It just kind of sucks. And then Tsubasa losing Kata 1 isn't as big of a deal, but Tsubasa's issue is more so losing copies of herself, because now Tsubasa only has 8 copies of herself in rotation, and her MC revolves around her discarded bosses in order to put more cards on the field. And when you only have 8 copies of MC, not only is your survivability hard, but getting that discard effect consistently is pretty difficult as well. Unless if you have some sort of like healing built into your deck, which you don't want to be doing if you're a tempo deck, so then it just kind of all falls apart. So TMS takes a huge hit from this rotation. They're still alright, I would say, but they definitely lose the things that made them those hyper aggressive tempo based decks that they were before. And from other top tier stuff, we're also losing Sword. This Sword in particular was good against base ADMCs, which are pretty rampant around the end of like these last couple of sets, because you have like Aboro as a base ADM, Martha as a base ADM, Eldigan, and you had a bunch of other decks that were also base ADM. And Sword can kind of strip away the takiness from those high base MCs and allow your mages and stuff to hit them. On top of that, he also had a very, very good draw engine if you were smart enough to play with it. Sword was definitely a high skill, high reward type of deck, and that's a bit sad to see him leave, seeing as he became very, very popular towards the end. You still have Micaiah in the meta, which sort of does the same thing as Sword, yet a little bit more explosive and with less consistency in the dodges. But, losing Sword still kind of sucks. Alright, what's next? Here's just like a bunch of other MCs. They don't even particularly have to be good now or good like now, but, I still thought I'd bring them up. First off is Sirius. He's actually one of my like favorite MCs to play. He's just sort of like chill. He's kind of the definition of aggro, along with Ogma. He would debuff like any unit into a 1-cost and decrease their stats by -10. And you can do some kind of cool combos with it. Like you can use this with like Leanna, and you deploy Leanna, and you get to draw a card with her skill. You can just debuff MCs to make your 1-cost actually hit them. And I thought he was a really, really solid MC. I still think that he was pretty okay even now, because he had some cards like Faye to help support him. And he always had the ability to actually allow his 1-cost to hit stuff. But yeah, it's kind of a shame that he's gone now. Now we have Hana. She wasn't really that great of an MC, but I thought I'd still bring her up. Basically, you rated 16 copies of her. When you dodge, you get them search the top 4 cards of your deck for Hana. If you did, you got to keep it. So she would pretty much dodge forever. And if inevitability was kind of your game plan, where your opponent would just run out of resources and then you'd somehow have more resources than them. It's sort of how the deck worked. You have Longku, aka Rizenku. What you do with this deck is that you would play a bunch of Risen, and Risen are 0-cost, so you get to deploy as much as you want. And this Longku has a skill that allows you to gain +10 for every sword ally on the field. So you would just play a bunch of sworders and you become base 100. If your opponent could clear that board, you're just screwed. It's as simple as that. Don't have too much else to remark. He's just sort of like, oh, you kind of know if you win this matchup or if you lose it right off the bat. Blame Retrop though. Retrop is a sinner. Here's Selkie. She was kind of popular before, but she was also kind of high rolly. You really, really, really needed your promotion for this deck to work. And basically, she's just like, reveal the top card of your deck, and you can flip one bond to summon it for the end of the turn. And what you do is you just play this with other cards. You play this with like Gunter and just other like, you know, consistently satted cards. And you just kind of try to beat your opponent fast enough with base stats. She also gave +10 whenever a unit was deployed. So, you know, she had her niches, she had her time. She kind of fell off just the, you know, really, really inconsistent gameplay. But yeah, she's still worth a mention. You have Mia, who was, I want to say she's like the original unavoidable card, or like the original good unavoidable card. You get to stack 4, and then, you know, your attacks just become unavoidable. And it's only a matter of time until your opponent loses. This deck also had like potential of like Racing and Faye, in which you would just like kind of try to kill your opponent really, really fast after gaining that unavoidable skill. She's alright right now. Not the best, because you can play better unavoidable MCs, I think, but you know, she exists. She's still worth the mention. Old Lucina, aka Penta's favorite card. I don't really know what the place of this card would be in the meta. I assume not very great, since you have to commit a lot of resources in order to get class changed allies on the field. And when you do that, you're also leaving yourself very prone to like destruction, which is very, very popular right now. Speaking that, most people are running like 12 to 16 maze in her deck, and Ileana is still a prominent card. So she just kind of struggles. She takes too much resources for MC to work. But you know, I still want to consider her here, since she was still, you know, a pretty good MC, and she's still like a pretty fun like MC if you're just like trying to learn the game or something. Definitely gonna miss her. Here's Elise, aka the first ever like control deck, I think, and the tyrant of sets went through like, I don't know, 8 maybe. I don't remember all too much about Cipher history, but I remember that she was a very, very prominent deck. She just had so much resource generation. She could break orbs, she could grab cards, and it was just like, wow, she keeps on getting all this value, and then she just hides and dodges with everything. It was hard to get past her. Her downfall came when Mei came into the meta, and, you know, started blowing everything up, regardless if you had a dodge or not. So Elise kind of fell off the radar, but JP still likes her a lot. So this is probably a huge shame for JP players around the world, or something like that. Yeah, I tried to learn her, but apparently she takes a lot of skill to play. Speaking of that, you have to make sure that you pick the right cards every single turn, and it can be very weird on the player. And finally is probably the best card from like this whole collection right here. That's Cordelia 4-3. Now Cordelia 4-3 is so good. She's free movement at the start, or was at the end. I think it's at the end of every turn, even your enemy's turn. So you can move like a Frederick into back line, and you can move it back into front line if you want. That's the start of your turn, and you know, keep them safe and whatnot. She's also base 30. And she gives all Lancers +10, so she was a very, very key part in Flyer-based decks. In fact, she is one of the best Flyer-based decks still. And this is probably like one of my favorite cards in the entire game. In fact, she just offers so much utility to the player, and depending on how well you play with her movement skill, I think you'd be rewarded as a player for that. And I'm really, really gonna miss this card a lot. Even if I'm not playing her in the best of decks, obviously. You know, she's just a key cornerstone card in flyer-based decks. Alright, so that's the end of that. Alright, Indigo. So, I wanted to bring this up specifically because Indigo still has a bridge. The bridge is alright, it's pretty bad, but like, This is like the first good MC, and that's because he's a base 90, or like some, yeah, he's a base 90 if he hit a enemy character and destroyed them, because he gained plus 20 from soul and then plus 10 from your female support. So he was just like high stats DMC, and he was dominant in the early days of Cipher when you couldn't mitigate the stats, and it was just based on how big your numbers were. So yeah, special thanks to this card, I guess. Even though like I never played during that time, I thought it was just like a little cool history tidbit I'd bring up. What's next? Alright, we have some ninjas or shurikens right here. These all kind of don't fit into the same package, but you know, they're just all hidden weapons, so I thought I'd bring them up together. Flora is a black shuriken, which is more important now than it has ever been because Jacob is in the format, and you want a black bond at least so you can deploy Jacob and get that unavoidable. She's also alright. She can be deployed as a way to stop the stop your main character from getting hit, and she's sort of like this once per game lifesaver that you might consider new decks. I think she's still pretty alright, and you run her like Femway if you have the space for it, but you know, she's just been seen. She was never that popular to begin with just because you have to run black, but whatever, I digress. She's okay. You lose this Elise, which meant you were losing another ninja emblem that could be good. You still have all the other good ninja emblems in the game, such as the Saizo and Kagero that deploy themselves, the Asugi that cycles, and you still have Kaze, I guess. But like, this card kind of sucks to lose, because if you were playing an aggressive deck that involved ninjas, you wouldn't mind taking the orb, because that's just another card in your hand. It didn't even matter if she got to attack, but like, still, yeah, you would take that orb just for the extra card in your hand, which kind of sucks. And then you also have Asugi's Bridge / another alternate promo if you want. This Asugi is a base 70 compared to his other version, which just gains plus 20 on your turn. So, you know, it kind of sucks you're losing the Asugi Bridge here, especially when Jacob has become more popular. He's become much better. This is like a bad time for Asugi to, you know, get worse, but, you know, you just sort of have to deal with it, I guess. Those are the shurikens I wanted to bring up. Here's some discard-based cards I also wanted to bring up. I thought Leo was the best out of, like, the old-school discard cards, you could say, because he randomly discarded. He's quite costly. Like, he costs 2 bonds and a Leo in order to randomly discard 2, which Delthea technically does for free, but, you know, and you also had to run black. The reason I thought this card was pretty okay was because you also had the chance to run King Leo alongside it, and King Leo is also a great, like, tech card, as you could just, you know, kill all the mages on the field, and then they can deploy more mages next turn. So I thought this card is pretty good. He was a part of one of my favorite decks, which is Black, or as I call it, Leo Marth, where you ran 16 Leo inside your Marth deck. And, you know, you just use that to discard them. And stuff like Delthea or whatever. Yeah, I like this card. I like Leo a lot too, so I have some personal bias there. Here's Staria. She was one of the only good ways to spend bonds in blue, so you ran her Lucina. I should have brought her up when I brought up Lucina, but I was talking about a bunch of other stuff right there, so I didn't want to group her up in there. She's just like flip 3 bonds, your opponent discards 2 cards. Or something like that. Flip 3, send a Tharia. Yeah, so she's super costly. If you were promoted, you got to send 3 cards instead, but, you know. She's just like a super, she's a way to spend bonds in blue. I guess that's what made her prevalent. And then, to complement the discard cards, you also have the best, quote-unquote, anti-discard card in the game. And when this card was discarded from your hand, you get a free orb. And this is pretty good, because, you know, if you're getting discarded, you're losing potential plays and potential value that you had. So Robin can sort of help mitigate that value if he gets discarded, or if you just discard him, you know, by a Dark Emblem. You know, Dark Emblem in discarding isn't as popular as it used to be, as value generation's up the ass right now with the Boro, Marth, and Sword, and Micaiah just drawing cards like crazy. But, you know, it's still nice it was nice to consider him. People will probably move on to, might move on to Veronica 3-4, or the new Veronica 3, that allows you to draw cards when you have like 4 or less. Or if you're playing green, maybe you play Bastion, or the Emma card, or Cipher. I know there's a couple of like green anti-disc cards, but there isn't too many universal ones, so maybe the new Veronica takes place. Who knows? But this card was definitely super good. It was slotted into a lot of decks, because it wasn't bad to have. If not, you just bond it. Much like Indigo, I also wanted to bring up this Femui onto here, because she was also a really, really good MC, mainly for the fact that you can flip to just deploy this guy for free, and this guy was already pretty cheap to deploy, so, you know, you just have Corrin, and she kind of spammed, like, Gunchers on board, and kind of hit the opponent down pretty quickly. She was still kind of ran in Malwi for a little bit, when Malwi was running, like, Arit plus Gunter, because Arit is just a super good card, so, you know, she still had a little bit of time to spotlight until Boro came in, and then Malwi started running like mono white. But yeah, still thought I'd bring these guys up. You'd also run Gunter in like Sulky, because he was a base 20, 70 base 3-drop. So he's like the definition of big stats for cheap cost type of thing. And yeah. What's next? Just 2 MCs I thought I'd bring up for 2 specific users. Rip Shadowpills, Rip Lario. That's all that needs to be said. I mean, Shadowpills already got bodied when they introduced the new Merrick and wasn't as good as the old Merrick for MC. And then this Lissa was always alright because it could give very, very, very specific cards. But yeah, Rip Lario, Rip Shadowpills. These cards aren't really prominent, I just thought I'd bring them up because, yeah, they look kind of cool. And I used them. Well, I didn't use Michaelis, but I'm pretty sure Michaelis is used somewhere. I think it was White Wings. If it's used in White Wings, then fuck this card. Yeah, actually coming to mind, it was probably used in White Wings. I can't think of any other deck where Michaelis actually fits, so yeah, no, just ignore I put that card up there. So these are cards that I used. I have a little bit of a personal connection with them. So let me just start with Katria. Katria is used in Sigrun, and that's because Pala 2 and S2 are just super good cards that you already have slotted into your deck. So you can just put this Katria in as a finisher, and she's an unavoidable win condition for your deck that, you know, a lot of decks can't actually afford to get. And it's pretty cool since it's like a triangle attack, and you don't get to use triangle attacks too often, unless you're Armor Bros or something like that. So yeah, I like this card. I think it was pretty cool that she actually found a niche because of other cards becoming good enough that just happened to synergize with her. Pretty cool, pretty cool. These 2 cards I have a personal connection with because of Itsuki. Itsuki is one of the decks that I played for a long, long time and was one of my favorite decks. Still probably is one of my favorite decks to this day. I played a mono blue version of Itsuki, and so this was before set, I think it was set 14. I would run this Cynthia instead of the new one that has the unavoidable part to it. And, you know, she was just kind of like, you can promote her, you can hit, and you can run away, and then you can promote her again. You know, she's just a nice flyer to have around in the deck, and she's pretty cheap and effective. Yeah, you get some tempo plays out with her. Or, you know, you can hit with like a 30 support sometimes against a base 60 or whatever. There's also this Frederick. This Frederick was also ran in Sulky sometimes because, you know, cheap cost, big stats, good support, whatever. But I also ran this Frederick in my version of Itsuki because I play this Frederick as like dodges for the 4-3 Frederick. So, you know, I thought I'd just share a little bit of my own personal experiences with these cards before they left as well. And so yeah, that's all the cards I really wanted to go over from sets 1 through 4. Starting from here on out, standard rotation will be sets 5 through 16 until set 17 comes out, and, you know, the cycle will continue, and, you know, it'll be fun. We'll finally have a rotation where cards are get reprinted, and maybe that opens up new design space for new cards and new opportunities for cards that are overshadowed before to come into the meta now. And yeah, that's all I have to really say about the topic. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment down below, and potentially subscribe. I'll be doing some more Cipher related stuff later, and I'll see you guys later. Deuces.